Welcome, everyone, and thank you for coming out for tonight's regular business meeting of the Board of School Trustees. Today on April 22nd, 2024. If everyone could please rise, we're going to have Mr. Babjack lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and then a brief moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Item 2 on tonight's agenda is our Board of School Trustee Resolution Accommodation Awards. We have 3 this evening. First, 2.01, Lake Street 2023-2024 Math Bowl Team for winning first place in the Lake County in the Orange class and placing in the state's top 10 at the Regional Elementary Math Bowl competition. 202, the Crown Point High School 2023-2024 Gymnastics Team for being named the IHSA State Champions and the DAC Conference Champs, the IHSA Sectional Champions, and the IHSA Regional Champions. And that didn't sound right, being named. No, they won the state championship. That's how that should have been worded. So let's make sure we fix that. And then 2.03, Community Patrons. It is our ambassador program, which we started 2 years ago. And it's our Crown Point School Corporation Ambassador Program. We're going to commend those individuals that completed that program, so that'll be item 2.03. So that being said, can I have a motion to approve the 3 school accommodation awards this evening?
Second.
A motion by Mr. Babjack, seconded by Ms. Bazin. Question or discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And that's an aye vote of 4-0, Diana. All right, with that, 2.01, the Lake Street 2023-24 Math Bowl Team, for if they could please come in and face the crowd. And Mr. Vassar is going to go ahead and read those accommodation awards.
Are you nervous, kids, being up there in front? Because we're going to fire some math questions at you here in just a second, just to let you know. The Crown Point Board of School Trustees is honored to commend the 2023-2024 Lake Street Elementary Math Bowl Team for meritorious achievement. Be it hereby resolved that the Board of School Trustees for the Crown Point Community School Corporation wishes to express sincere congratulations to the Lake Street, Lake Street Elementary Math Bowl Team for winning first place in the orange, love that color, orange class in Lake County and placing in the state's top 10 at the Regional Elementary Math Bowl competition. So first we're going to introduce the coaches of this team are Amy Hochbaum and Linda Collier. And before we do the individual awards with the students, coaches, would you like to say anything about your team? Or?
Well, we're very proud of them. Yeah, we are. I mean, we're missing about, 8 of them? So we had 19 kids. Everybody competed, and they all did fabulous.
Worked hard, had 2 practices a week, had homework on top of that.
Yeah.
And
thanks to the parents that are here too, because we know they couldn't have done it without them either. So we appreciate them.
thank you, coaches.
That was nice. That's the first time I've ever heard that from the crowd. That's good stuff. That's good. So students, when we call your name, please come up and we have a certificate for all of you. Lily Ilikowski. Okay. Violet Flores. Mila Gibson. Lily Gunbrinson. Lilith Hausman. Fiona Hines. Aria Hollinger. Finn Mulder. Evan Osbleish. Liam Patel Miller. Axel Paulson. Calvin Renat. Kevin Scanlon. Kayla Schilling. Ava Sheets. Nolan Skaggs. Jeffrey St. Clair. Eventually, here we go. Caden Wilson. And finally, Alan Young. Congratulations, Math Bowl team from Lake Street. Parents, grandparents, want to take some pictures, feel free.
All right, so welcome gymnasts. I'm going to read our resolution of commendation. The Crown Point Board of School Trustees is honored to commend the 2023-2024 Crown Point High School gymnastics team for meritorious achievement. Be it hereby resolved that the Board of School Trustees for the Crown Point Community School Corporation wishes to express sincere congratulations to the 2023-2024 Crown Point High School gymnastics team for being named the 2024 IHSAA State Champions and the DAC IHSAA Sectionals and Regional Champions. The Board of School Trustees publicly recognizes this achievement and renders it permanently to its minutes to be preserved for public posterity, dated this 22nd day of April, 2024. So congratulations, ladies. So having a daughter who is a gymnast, I can relate to many of you parents out there and definitely to you gymnasts with the number of injuries and aches and pains, and you guys think football is tough, they have a lot of equipment to protect them. Gymnasts have just their bodies and lots of big stuff and lots of big falls. So congratulations for making it through the season. I see a boot, so maybe somebody who didn't quite make it through the season, but it is very hard, the number of hours that they commit, and I know that firsthand, and the amount of toll that that takes on your body. So ladies, this is an amazing achievement. I'm gonna let you speak a little bit, and then I'll let you read these off, hand them to me, and I'll pass them out. That way I'm sure you'll be better with names than I will be.
Okay. We're just so proud of our team for going their very first Crown Point High School, first ever undefeated season in the history of IHSA gymnastics for Crown Point High School. That's roughly 52 years it took us to go have an undefeated season. From start to finish, it was absolute perfection. The girls gelled together, they worked hard together, they overcame not only injuries, but just that mental toll that gymnastics takes on them. It's a long road. It's hard to see it at the very beginning when we start in, fall, that we are heading towards that state title. And I kind of knew it from the beginning, but, you just don't want to jinx yourself. And you also don't want to blink because it's over in a second. And it was just so enjoyable to go on the ride with them and to coach them, and to have that honor to be their coach, along with my longtime assistant, Karen Charters. We've been together for 23 years. We've been working really hard to get to where we are now, and we just couldn't be prouder of our athletes. Great job, girls. Yep, sure. Okay. Another thing, obviously, we had some standout gymnasts. All 14 are wonderful, and we're just so happy that we had 14 strong on our team, lots of gymnasts to fall back on. But we had 6 competitors at the state meet. I'll just go ahead and say them: Ellie Karen, Alana Lockhart, Bridget Donovan, Leah Fenner, Savannah Corning-Kobach, and Madeline Martell. Oftentimes in gymnastics, to kind of get to where we were at the last few years, is we have specialty gymnasts. Not every gymnast competes all around, but each individual is so important, as we only compete 4 kids per event, with 3 scores counting out of the 4. So really, in the postseason, we went almost perfect in tournament series as far as, no falls or no big mistakes. So that's what put us so far past everyone. We got a 114.45 also during season. That was at the Chesterton Invite, and that is a new team record. And I don't foresee that being touched anytime soon. So it was big numbers this year. And with that was big talent. So first and foremost, we have our all-around champion. Ellie, would you step forward? This is Ellie Kieran. She is the first ever all-around champion for Crown Point High School. She also won floor exercise, and she's second to do that. First was Lisa Dietrich in the year 2000. And then she also won vault and was second on bars and beam. And then she topped off her state meet by getting the Mildred Ball Mental Attitude Award. So she hit the trifecta. No, only one other gymnast in IHSAA history did that same feat, and that was in 1974. It was a woman named Pam Robillard, and it was in 1974, like I said, so it took 50 years for somebody to be able to do that again. So very good, Ellie. Congratulations, Ellie. All right, and then we also had, I have to remember, we have Bridget Donovan step forward. She was a former level 10 gymnast, and she graced us with her talent this year and decided to come out for the high school team, which really set the pace for the rest of our season, and to have these record wins. But she got 4th on bars, and she tied for 5th with step forward Madeline Martell. Madeline got 5th on beam, and then Savannah Corning-Kobach got 5th on floor, and she was tied with Bridget. So this was the most ever state medalists in one meet that Crown Point has ever had. So much history this year. It's really outstanding. Our girls are all conference and all state, all of them. So that's a great thing too. Okay, all right. All right, our first athlete is Yalitza Briggs. Grace Sharon. Savannah Corning Kovach. Bridget Donovan. Leah Fenner. Jade Hines. Morgan Wong. Ellie Karen. Anna Kostelnik. Alana Lockhart. Madeline Martell. Simona Stoicheski. Jody Zentz. And Coach Karen Charters. Oops, sorry. And then we had one other athlete. She's in Florida right now for her birthday. Her name is Katie Tchaikopoulos. Yes, that'd be great. Thank you so much. All right.
All right. Our next commendation award is to our participants this year for their commitment and support of the quality education for students in the district by completing our Crown Point School Corporation Ambassador Program. And just for you out there that don't know, it's a program we put together with the help of Brooke, Dr. Terrell, and others involved, to where basically individuals in the community get a chance to learn more of the intricacies behind the scenes of what board members do and need to know, kind of make decisions that happen, but also learn about individual departments, safety and security, finances, human resources, you name it. So it's great that we're able to put this together to educate the community. So I will read the accommodation, and then we just had 3 of the participants, but I will read all their names tonight. Resolution accommodation. The Crown Point Board of School Trustees is honored to commend these individuals for meritorious dedication and support. Be it hereby resolved that the Board of School Trustees for the Crown Point Community School Corporation wishes to express sincere appreciation to these community patrons for going above and beyond in their commitment and support of quality education for students in the district by completing the Crown Point School Corporation Ambassador Program. The Board of School Trustees publicly recognizes this achievement and renders it permanently to its minutes to be preserved for public posterity today, this 22nd day of April 2024. Our first participant that's here this evening, Tara Morales Johnson. A longtime community patron of doing everything, Diane Sprague. Sean Brooks. Congratulations, Sean. Yes, we will.
That's a good idea.
I'll let you take a picture, and then I'll take their certificate, because I am going to read their names, just so it's in the record, because I said I was going to do that. Just for the record, the other individuals that completed the program that weren't able to attend this evening are Diana Anagnos, James Balterson, Jerry Kavalovic, Janelle Handel, Stephanie Heim, Sarah Johnson, Carrie Maiden, Michelle Teal, Temple Vandis, Joaquin Anabel Lopez, and Richard Fawn. Congratulations to those individuals. We'll make sure they do get their certificates. Thank you. Item 3 on tonight's agenda is our patrons' comments. There being none, we will move on to item 4, which is our consent agenda. Dr. Terrell.
Thank you for your consideration this evening. For our consent agenda, we have our regular business meeting minutes from March 18th, our personnel agenda, the recommendation for employment of candidates pursuant to Indiana Code 20-26-5-11.2, and then 4.04, our voucher registered checks as listed.
You've heard the recommendation of the administration for approval of the consent agenda. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Basin, seconded by Mr. Vassar. Question or discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries 4-0. Thank you. Our action items this evening, 5.01, Resolution 844, support of military families. Mrs. Allen. Oh, sorry to make you run. I gotta time that better.
Thank you and good evening. Over the last school year, we've been checking items off our list to apply for the Indiana Department of Education's Purple Star Schools program. This is a special designation that recognizes those schools and districts that put a little bit of extra effort into supporting their military-connected students and their families. Some of those items on our checklist are making sure that there is a point of contact at every single school who's trained in communicating with those students and their families, making sure that we have military appreciation events and displays, as well as resources on our website, and the final step this evening, a board resolution that supports our military students and their military-connected students and their families. So our recommendation this evening is to pass Resolution 844, Military Support Families. Thanks.
Thank you. Recommendation this evening is approval. They recommend approval of Resolution 844. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Babjak, seconded by Ms. Basin. Questions or discussion?
I'd just like to say, I think it's wonderful. I'm a huge military supporter. Colonel Wheeler Middle School, named after a tremendous war hero killed at Gettysburg. I think this is just wonderful, and I hope that just continues to increase over the years of supporting our military. So thanks for spearheading that.
Thank you, Mr. Vassar. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries 4-0. 5.02, Crown Point High School participation in IJCL out-of-country field trip to Italy. Mr. Akiwa.
Thank you, Mr. President and board members. This evening, we are presenting to you a trip that is planned to be taken by Indiana Junior Classic League to Italy in the summer of 2025. Before you have the trip dates of June 16 through 24, 2025. These students, chaperones, and teachers will be spending time, I believe, in Rome and Sorrento. We're very happy to have some very reputable teachers, Mr. Collier and Jeremy Walker, head this trip up. But before you, there's insurance information, student criteria information, in addition to some cost information. We'll let you absorb that here for just a second. Other than the items listed there before you, there are no other resource requirements. We're excited to offer this opportunity for our students that do qualify for this trip. And the administration recommends the school board approve the out-of-country field trip for Crown Point High School students to travel with the Indiana Junior Classical League to Italy during the summer of 2025.
Thank you, Mr. Kiwa. You've heard the recommendation of the administration for the approval of the out-of-country field trip for the Crown Point High School students to travel with the Indiana Junior Classical League to Italy during summer of 2025. May I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Vassar, seconded by Mr. Babjak. Question or discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries 4-0. 5.03, Crown Point High School out-of-country field trip to Japan and South Korea. Mr. Akiwa.
Thank you, Mr. President and board members. We have another wonderful opportunity here for individuals to travel to, students I should say, to travel to Japan and South Korea also in 2025. You will see the out-of-country field trip to these locations is scheduled for July 6th through the 20th in 2025. And the students, chaperones, and teachers will be staying in hotels in both Tokyo and Seoul. Before you, you will see the package, which includes, insurance or cancellation coverage, illness, accident coverage, trip interruption coverage, protection for their belongings, trip delay, and emergency evacuation coverages. You will also find student criteria and the chaperone program cost. I should mention that this is surrounding robotics and engineering in these locations. It's actually a very exciting trip to think about how far VEX Robotics has come in Crown Point Community School Corporation from years ago to being here today to share with you this opportunity for our students. It's nothing short of amazing. So the administration recommends the school board approve the out-of-country field trip to Japan and South Korea by Crown Point High School students July 6th through 20 in 2025.
Thank you, Mr. Kiwa. You've heard the recommendation of the administration for the approval of the out-of-country field trip to Japan and South Korea by our Crown Point High School students from July 6th through the 20th, 2025. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Bazin, seconded by Mr. Babjak. Question or discussion?
Mr. Kiwa, I hope this would never happen, but let's just say the way the world's going right now, if something were to happen, how much advance notice do we need to give these companies before we don't lose any money on this?
I should have probably mentioned in both situations, the trip cancellation in regard to safe travel is being monitored daily from now until then to keep everybody up to date. So that is something that's of the utmost importance for both of these trips.
Thank you.
Thank you. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries 4-0. 5.04, policy additions and revisions, second reading and approval. Mr. Kiwa.
Before you go, Mr. LeBlanc, thank you.
Yeah, and I wanted to say, I didn't drop that in there, I also wanted to thank our teacher Matt LeBlanc for heading up this trip. It is truly an amazing opportunity. Just thank you so much for championing this for our students.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
And thank you. Yes, thank you. Policy revisions and additions, second reading 5.04, Mr. Kiwa.
Thank you, Mr. President and board members. We are bringing to you this evening the second reading and/or approval for ISBA policy updates. Last month, we brought to you ISBA Policy 3110, Drug-Free Workplace, ISBA 3120, Training and Health Precautions for Communicable Diseases, ISBA 6210, Small Purchases Under 50,000, and Policy 0115. This last policy is an update of Neola, which states that the official address for Crown Point Community School Corporation is now 1050 South Main Street, Crown Point, Indiana 46307. We are bringing these recommendations to you this evening with the hope of waiving the second reading and approving the policies, revisions, replacements, and additions as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Akiwa. You've heard the recommendation of the administration for the waiving of the second reading and the approval of the policies, revisions, replacements, and additions as presented. May I have a motion?
I move to waive the reading and approve as written.
Second?
Motion by Ms. Basin, second by Mr. Babjak. Question or discussion on any of these?
Mr. Key, it's like the drug-free workplace, is that the old training they do via the computer? Is that how that works?
No, this is actually a statement that our buildings, our locations where our employees work and all of our campuses are to be it's supposed to be a drug-free workplace. It's a little bit different than the
Tutorials?
employee tutorials that are state mandated.
Communicable diseases, those still remain tutorials?
Yes, we've got
Okay.
a number of those mandated tutorials that our employees have to complete each year.
Thank you.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries 4-0. 5.05, purchases, Crown Point High School labs, workstations, and monitors. Mr. Reese.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. Tonight I bring before you a recommendation to approve purchase of new workstations for our specialized labs we have at our high school for those programs that require additional capacity for the specialized software that they use. For that, we have the business, robotics, CAD, radio, and journalism labs at the high school. This bid was taking place through a consortium bid, QPA, a quantity purchasing agreement. And with that, we're recommending approval of 185 Dell Precision workstations along with 125 Dell monitors from Electronic Strategies, Inc. at $327,142.12.
Thank you, Mr. Reese. You've heard the recommendation from the administration for the approval to purchase 185 Dell Precision 3680 workstations, along with 125 Dell P2722H monitors from Electronic Strategies in the amount of $327,142.12. May I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Vassar, second by Ms. Basin. Questions or discussion? Just for those that are watching at home or still listening anywhere, we do get a copy of that bid aspect of what's all on there to get an idea of where we're at with it based on our requirements by the state. So just want to make sure people are aware of that. That's done behind the scenes, and obviously the top bidder, if they meet our requirements, receives that bid. So with that, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries 4-0. 5.06, purchase of student Chromebooks. Mr. Reese.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. Tonight we're seeking your approval for our regular refresh of all of our incoming kindergarten, 5th, and 9th grade students next year. With that, that's a total of 2,150 Dell touchscreen Chromebooks, along with the Google management licenses to go along with them. With that, we're recommending approval, the purchase of the 2,150 Dell touchscreen Chromebooks, along with the Google management licenses for those devices from Electronic Strategies, Inc. at $670,778.50.
You've heard the recommendation of the administration for approval to purchase 2,150 Dell 3110 touchscreen Chromebooks, along with 2,150 Google management licenses from Electronic Strategies, Inc. in the amount of $670,778.50. May I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mr. Babjak, seconded by Mr. Vassar. Questions or discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries 4-0. 6 on tonight's agenda, 6.01, policy additions and revisions, our first reading. Mr. Akiwa.
Thank you, Mr. President and board members. We bring to you this evening another set of policy updates for information purposes only this evening. We have brought to you ISBA 6100, internal controls. This policy will be a new policy, and it addresses the efforts the school corporation makes to detect fraud, financial improprieties, fiscal irregularities within the school corporation. ISBA 8615, idling of school buses and other idling vehicles on school property. This property is going to replace an existing policy, but in its new language addresses the same thing, which is limiting the amount of time vehicles are idling, therefore, giving the possibility of unnecessary fumes into the buildings. ISBA 1310, electronic participation by board members in board meetings. This policy is an identical update to Neola's policy. It's now going to be ISBA's version, and the policy addresses the requirements allowing board members to participate in meetings electronically. And finally, ISBA 8500, this is visitors to school buildings. This policy will replace Neola 9150, and it addresses visitor protocols and expectations. So this evening, we are just bringing this to you as information for a first reading. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kiwa. If anybody has a chance to review those and has any questions or concerns, obviously we'll vote on that next month, so please bring it to either myself or Mr. Kiwa's attention. Thank you. Item 7 tonight is our information recognition items. 7.01 is our superintendent's discussion groups. Mr. Master, I know we have an attachment of the legislative report that we all did get to see.
I think that's farther down on the.
Oh, it is. Oh, you're right.
It's
Number 8. Sorry, you're right. We got under business support. So superintendent's discussion groups, anything reported from the city or, in your case, Cedar Lake?
Cedar Lake Redevelopment Commission, we met on Tuesday, the 2nd of April. I really like the communication with the new board that they have. So much, as I told Dr. Terrell this evening, that the school board liaisons from Crown Point and Hanover are both now included on the agenda, which is a huge step. So we look forward to actually having voting rights, but I think this is a move in the right direction. Very thankful for that.
Thank you very much. Nothing from Winfield, other than the fact is, I mentioned something at the end of last meeting, last month, about the fire protection and how things have changed out there. That's all been now passed along for another year at least, correct, Mr. Reese? So we're safe for at least another year because there was just enough votes, not saying that everybody was ready, so that didn't go through. So we at least have another year to be concerned about additional funds that might be at our expense. So we'll address that next year when that possibly comes up. And just tonight there was, individuals are gone for a conference, so hence why we have a sparse crowd from our administrative team tonight, but they're all attending a conference, so those individuals that are here will still speak. And first on that is 7.02, Chief Human Resource Officer, Mr. Kiwa.
Thank you, Mr. President and board members. I am very pleased to share with you just a little story regarding how our staff members go out of the way and step outside of their duties just to help students. But our 2 nurses at Crown Point High School, Corey Sabatnik and Carissa Oman, went out of their way to help a student, and briefly they learned of an individual who had lost a family member, in this case a father. And this female student found herself in a position where she was not able to afford to go to prom. So Corey and Carissa got together, and not only did they guide her to our services at the high school, which provide students with free dresses, but they also organized for her and got some folks to chip in to get all the preparation for prom paid for: hair, makeup, nails, et cetera, et cetera. And then finally, our 2 high school nurses chipped in to cover her ticket for prom. So when I heard of this, I just couldn't help but want to share it with you guys this evening. It's just, again, another example of how our staff members, go the extra mile to support our students in the Crown Point School Corporation.
Thank you, Mr. Kiwa. 7.03, Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Reese.
I have nothing this evening.
Thank you. Director of Communication, Mrs. Allen? Oh, you got a free pass because you had to be part of that other presentation, so. You sure? I'll give you another opportunity? All right. No, thank you, Ms. Allen. 7.05, Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Terrell.
Thank you. Not sure if you guys have seen today, but the MacArthur Elementary School playground was opened today. And pictures of one principal who is going down the slide. Very excited to be out there with their kids. also of our community members as they go through this as well. So just thank you to all of them, and thank you to our teams as they continue to push us forward with all of our projects.
Thank you, Dr. Terrell. Other business of the board, 8.01, that's where our legislative report. So, Mr. Vassar, I'll let you start with that, and then I just have a couple other items to clean up on.
Sure, if you could open it up. I do want to point your attention to a few of these new enrolled acts in the state of Indiana as education. There's one that I did not include on here, which was the added requirements for teachers, which I personally consider to be a huge overstep and a huge overreaction to iRead scores. I think this puts undue pressure, undue requirements on our teachers, and I've yet to meet an educator who thought this was right. But I could go on an hour on that, but I won't. So let me direct your attention to House Enrolled Act 1137, which is the first one on that list there. This requires a principal of K through 12 schools to release students up to 120 minutes per week for religious instruction by a church or other religious organizations. Don't know if that has been asked of any of our principals yet, but I do know it's happening close to us, and Lake Central is doing this right now. So something to be on the lookout for. Also, House Enrolled Act, third one down.
Tim, do you know,
Yes.
has this been something that hasn't been excused in recent years?
That I don't know. I never received that as a.
Just curious.
Yeah, what I would say with this is, before it was left up to may, and this is changed to a shall, which, so therefore requires that schools do it.
Okay.
I'm not aware,
Most people may have done it in the past.
yeah, and I'm not aware that we've ever not permitted this.
Right.
I think the concern with it moving to a shall rather than a may is for students who have attendance issues or have grade issues, just some other things that go along with it. So from our perspective, that was the concern going into it, as I'm sure Mr. Vassar will talk about in a little bit, the additional requirements that we have trying to address chronic absenteeism. Yeah. And then to put in something like this where now we're letting kids get out of school for additional time. Just a lot of debate over it.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of actionable, like you guys got a lot of work to do over the summer.
Yeah.
To deal with a lot of these things, these new policies.
Exactly. All of these have effective dates of July 1st of 2024. So getting this information out to parents and students, obviously time is of the essence. But Scott, back to your question on that, this is not an on-campus. Kids would be leaving campus to go to these things.
Right.
Okay.
I was surprised that these kids that had these types of obligations wouldn't be allowed in the first place, but I'm sure there's areas where it wasn't the case, I guess.
Yes. The third one, House Enrolled Act 1265, that has to do with school board elections, and if your school boards, as ours is by districts, we have to have the districts recertified because the population in each of those districts needs to be equal.
If I might jump in on that one, so in
Sure.
working with our council, because we do have district representatives on the board, but because everybody within our community votes on each, this does not necessarily apply to us. So we get a pass on this because everybody in the community is voting on each district. The issue comes if you have District 1 and only the people in District 1 get a vote for District 1 representative.
Right.
So.
Terry was a little sketchy on this one when he presented this last week. So, something, I realize that ours, no matter which district the candidate lives in, anybody from any other district can vote for them, which leads to a whole different discussion, which maybe we can have later. It's like, why even have districts in that case? Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Probably not the time to discuss it right now.
Probably not.
But House Enrolled Act 1330, this is for Mr. Reese, actually. school corporations can now use operations funds for work-based learning, apprenticeships, and off-site CTE programs, which can't be a bad thing. Senate Enrolled Act, the IREAD bill, we've covered that ad nauseum, and I'm sure that there are school corporations working that quite a bit. That got a lot of press, as you well know. Another big one that's getting a lot of press and is getting a lot of talk, at least I'm hearing a lot of talk on it, is Senate Enrolled Act 185. This is commonly known as the No Cell Phones Act, effective July 1st of this year. That's has to be a hot issue moving forward. So looking to find out, hopefully really soon, what we're going to do about that as a corporation. And then lastly, the last bill there, Senate Enrolled Act 282, as Dr. Terrell said, that's about adopting a truancy prevention policy. I think the big difference here inside of this is the Bernie Carter, county prosecutor, now has to be involved. This has to be reported directly to his office. I remember as a principal, we didn't get a whole lot of help from the judges on this, but maybe moving up to Bernie's level, maybe that will help. So that's it. Can I try to answer any questions that you may have?
Any questions for Mr. Master?
Yeah, I just have one. So it looks like the truancy prevention policy that you just referenced is only for K to 6?
Yes.
Was that intentional? I mean,
That's what the ISBA said. It is only K through 6.
so they're maybe looking at more of a parent,
Well, they said in the future they anticipate this being added 7 through 12 as well, but right now it's just 1 through 6, which is really interesting. The second one on that page, Danielle, House Enrolled Act 1243, included in that bill was school boards have to have a policy regarding habitually truant students to participate in extra or co-curricular activities. But ISBA anticipates it going all the way till 12 in the next cycle.
thank you.
If I may, one of the concerns they had was getting buy-in from the different departments in the state, i.e. the prosecutor's office, Department of Child Services. And so that's why it was moved back down to the K to 6. Interesting challenges come with parents being able to call their students in and where that goes. But also, if you'll notice, it says 5 unexcused absences for a 10-week period. Well, schools typically are on 9-week cycles. You can't make it less than 10 because it's statute now. Also, if you have it where it's 3 unexcused absences in a 9-week period, we're not permitted to do that either because, again, it's in statute. So while I think their intention was to help us, in some ways it handcuffed us more than it did help us. So interestingly enough, with this too, as with all of these different things, we're currently waiting on further guidance from the Department of Ed, and we'll continue to wait for that very eagerly. But as far as having individual policies that address these truancy cell phones, we're able to include that into our student handbooks because the board passes those, and typically that comes in the June kind of range. So we're really hoping that we get some further guidance as to just the details that go along with it from the Department of Ed to bring that to you.
Dr. Terrell, can I ask what our current trigger is in terms of, like, I think we now automatically send the letter or communication. What's that number of days?
I don't have that,
Okay.
but you're right, there is an automatic trigger
Yeah,
where that goes.
I just didn't know how different, if this
Yeah.
was very different than what we currently had.
For the unexcused absences.
Mr. Vassar, I'd like to thank you for those detailed reports, because that's not something that just comes easily, and following it sometimes can, like, knowing how they work there sometimes in the legislature and throwing things in last minute, updating things last minute, it's a burdensome task, so we appreciate you taking on that responsibility.
You're entirely welcome.
Only other thing on other business of board, the meeting date of May 20th, this board member usually likes to make every meeting, and I've had a pretty good history of that. Unfortunately, I cannot make it, so I'm just making sure that everybody else is good for the 20th, May 20th. It's the Monday before Memorial Day. I know just spoke to a couple, that I got a chance to reach out to Danielle and Scott, but not to you, Tim, and Brian as well. He's out ill this evening, for those wondering. But just verify here in the next couple days that you guys are all good, and the meeting can be held accordingly with the four of you with no issues. So just verify that if you would, please. With that, 9.01, board statements of appreciation and recognition. Start with you, Mr. Vashri, if you have anything this evening.
I do not.
Okay. Ms. Bazin, anything this evening?
Always, sorry. So a couple of things, I got to attend our elementary math bowl competition, which we did recognize Lake Street today. I believe that all of our elementary schools in Crown Point competed in that. I think we had representation from every building, but it was really wonderful to see that, all of those kids working hard on that. I was also able to attend the Crown Point High School Academic Honors Ceremony maybe a few weeks ago, which was wonderful to see the number of students who are earning a 3.85 GPA or higher, which is pretty incredible. And lastly, just a shout out to our, I know it's definitely happening in middle school and elementary, can't speak to the high school because I don't have a high schooler, but the iLearn testing that is currently going on started last week for some of my kids and is continuing this week. But definitely commending the teachers for going through all of that. That's a lot of, stress and pressure on them, and keeping their kids calm and helping them perform the best they can, and the administrators, helping to put out communications to parents to keep everyone in the loop on that. So thank you for everyone's efforts around that and getting our kids through their testing.
Thank you, Ms. Bazin. Mr. Babjak, anything this evening?
Nothing for me tonight.
All right, thank you. I have one item, but then also just a couple cleanup things. Obviously, we're gonna have a bunch of awards, presentations, graduation, all that. Diana pretty much keeps us in the loop on some of those, retirement breakfast, things like that. So just make sure you're on the lookout for those so that she can get a response. My kind of protocol, just being the representative as the president, just to make sure we at least have one individual at some of these. Not everybody needs to be there, but if we just have one, makes them look like, we're involved and that, these things are important to these individuals. We want to make sure that we show some representation. I want to give a shout out to Russ Marcinek and his staff. Sometimes things in this community go out of the realm of normal discussion into the realm of social media. And one of those was kids not being able to attend prom because tickets were sold out because we have a venue of only 850. They come on a first come, first served basis to seniors and juniors. I was assured in the last week and a half prior to the prom last Saturday that every individual, because staff and the chaperones of our school corporation were willing to give up their seats and open up tables for those other individuals. So everybody was reached out to that was on the waiting list, and everybody had the opportunity to attend. So I cannot think of the individual staff member's name, but I know Russ will get this to her. But I heard she worked diligently to make sure every one of those parents that was in a quandary because they couldn't get tickets in beforehand, that everybody did get reached out to, and what they had the opportunity to buy tickets and attend prom.
And that was happening before you and I even spoke about the issue.
I mean,
So,
yes,
yeah,
I had
they
got a
were
couple calls,
proactive.
couple emails, and I just said, well, let me go to the source, went to Dr. Terrell, then he went to Russ, and I was then followed up with Dr. Terrell, and then even Russ gave me a follow-up to say, Scott, I can tell you, everybody was reached out to, and it was handled. So kudos to that, and being that this is already Monday evening and I haven't heard of anything, I'm assuming prom went off without any hitches.
Uneventful.
See, and that's what we like
Huge
to hear
hurdle.
as a board, so, because you just never know.
Yeah.
We do know there's temptation, so that's great.
Uneventful event.
Yes, so thank you to all of those that took care of that and chaperoned that, and the students for their behavior, and the parents that make sure their kids held within our guidelines of what we expect out of students at those events.
What was the venue this year?
It was at the one big place in Griffith there.
Avalon.
House of St. George. House of St. George. Because it's the only one big enough. They hold 850, and nobody else can squeeze that many
Correct.
tables. Now, I did hear in the future, they may reduce it to appetizers only, because then without tables, you can fit more people in the venue. So it's a possibility, which kind of makes sense then, and kind of let people do their own thing for dinner. Might help some of that as we continue to grow. So that was thrown out in my discussions then and follow-up. So that's kind of nice to hear that sometimes accommodations have to be made to make sure everybody's taken care of. So I'm sure we'll hear more about that as next year comes around. With that, I will look for a motion to adjourn.
Before we
Oh,
adjourn,
oh, hold on.
one thing I failed to mention, tomorrow night is a really exciting opportunity. We have our transition fair for exceptional ed students at the high school. More than 50 vendors, I believe, will be there. I think it's closer to 70, but I don't want to be held to that. From 5:30 till 8:30, I believe it is, or 5 to 8. But if you have an opportunity to stop by there, it's an unbelievable event that has just grown every year. I believe this is the 3rd year for that. And again, kudos to everybody involved with that, and Mrs. Paskus and her leadership in that area.
I do know my schedule's free tomorrow. I will make every effort to pop in there at least for a little while. Anything else? With that, a motion to adjourn. Motion by Mr. Babjack, seconded by Ms. Bazin. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries 4-0. Thank you.